Hey, what's going on, folks? Thank you for turning us on. That's totally what she said, by the way. This is the world famous code. Shit.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead with it.
The world famous Code 0.5 podcast. I'm Rich, joined by the man himself, Jason, and we are back to regale you with more tales of tweakers, thieves, and just downright stupid criminals. So what's on the agenda today, Jay? Do you have anything else come to mind since the last time we met up?
I should have read that before I said, yeah, just go with it.
Yeah, just go with it.
That's
just
funny. Let's see. What I want to talk about.
My first intro ruined it.
No, it was great. We're going to leave it just like that, too. Oh, man. Well, before we started recording, we've been talking about getting in trouble and pissing our wives off. So that's what some of mine are going to be about today is guys pissing their wives off.
Oh, yeah. That should be good.
And, you know, actually, that is my favorite hobby.
Yeah.
Kind of like poke the bear thing, you know? Oh, yeah. And you know how they were mentioning earlier about how we'll give them the silent treatment sometimes and it just drives them nuts and all that. Yeah. Then if they do it to us, it's like freaking great. So, yeah, that's one of the poking the bear, having the fun thing. But, and actually, my wife reminded me of this story that we're going to talk about. Get a call about, I think it came out as domestic disturbance or whatever, but it was neighbors that were arguing about something completely stupid. I mean, I kind of got there, and when they told me about it, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Tree hanging over the fence line type shit.
Yeah, stupid crap. But I get there, and one of them's adamant about wanting a report. I don't know what for or anything.
Got to have that paper trail.
I guess, but I go out there, and I'm talking to the guy. Well, the guy I'm talking to, you would think he's a tweaker. He swears up and down he's not. Little short guy, skinny as can be, wound up. He's bouncing all over the place. Mm-hmm. Well, his wife comes outside because he's so wound up and all over the place. I really can't understand what the hell he's trying to say to me. Mm-hmm. So his wife comes out and she's trying to tell me what all's going on, and I'm starting to get an understanding of it. Well, since she's like involved with it, I get her information, like her driver's license, and I get her husband's and all that. Well, I tell dispatch everybody I'm out with, and, you know, they naturally check people for warrants whenever we do that. And so I've ran like 4 people, and then dispatch says, you know, are you 1012? And if any of y'all that aren't in law enforcement, yeah, they're basically saying, hey, I got to give you some information. Is there people standing around that don't need to hear this? Mm-hmm. And I tell them, like, yeah, go ahead with it. Let me know. Tell me what you got. And they said that they have a warrant, and it's in hand, or no, that's being sent over. Got a warrant for this tweaker guy's wife. And the look she gives me, and she's like, "What the hell?" So I go ahead and go up and detain her, and I'm telling her, "Hey, they're telling me you got possible warrant, blah blah blah. If you don't, if it's been taken care of, it's simple. I release you, and you know we'll go on about our day." And she's like, "Okay." Well, she's trying to think, and she's like, what is it? What could this be about? Well, then dispatch gets on the radio, and they're like, hey, you know, we've got that, we call them, you know, 1044, but a 44 in hand, which is a warrant. And I was like, okay. I was like, can you advise me what it's for? And they go, sure, it's for traffic. It's from speeding ticket or whatever that she got while she was driving. And before I can say anything to her, because they can hear it on the radio, I kind of catch a glimpse of the guy, and I look over at him, and he goes, oh, shit. And she goes, did you not pay that warrant? And he goes, I guess I forgot to. So I get her in the car, and we're talking and everything. And she goes, I had her in the car, and we're en route to the jail, and she was like, I gave him the money to that, and he was supposed to have gone and taken care of it. Uh-oh. And I was like, well, you know, ultimately you're responsible for that. It's not other people and all that. And she goes, I understand, but he goes to Shawnee every day for work.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where it needs to be paid at. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. She goes, I gave him it was like $400 or something to pay for whatever ticket. And then he should have had money left over. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I'm wondering whatever happened with all that money.
Yeah, he went to casino.
And she goes, when I get over there, how do I get out? And I was like, well, since the warrant is for just the traffic tickets and stuff, when you get there, you can probably pay them to get it, right then and get out. Mm-hmm. And I go, is your husband going to come this way and pay it? And she was like, oh, I doubt he comes. And if he's got half a brain, he won't come anyway. Oh. And I was like, oh, yeah, why is that? And she goes, what time do you get off work? And I was like, well, my shift will be over with in a couple hours or so. And she goes, okay, well, you might want to let your buddies know that you work with that when I get out of here, that they're going to be responding to a domestic at my house because I'm going to whoop his ass when I get home. Yeah,
I imagine so.
So I get her up there, drop her off to jail, and I tell the jailer and everything that story. He thinks it's funny, but then he's like, man, this dude's going to die. Yeah. And he was like, don't worry, when we get you out of here, we'll save your bed for you for when you whoop his ass and come back.
Have you checked on that guy? Is he still alive?
Is
he still breathing?
He walks with a limp now.
I bet. That's probably the least of his problems.
Yeah. And I'm being dead ass serious. He walks with a limp now. Because I was like, what happened? And they told, because he does
domestic violence.
He does like tree trimming service, and he climbs up in them and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he said he fell out of a tree, and it's like, okay, yeah, he fell down the stairs, hit the doorknob kind of thing or whatever. But yeah, he walks with a limp now.
Wow. G unit. Dang. This dude got lit up. I don't know though. I came pretty close to that. My wife was thinking she was going to be slick, was running faster than she was supposed to. She got pulled over by OHP. She went to high school with the trooper, but I don't guess it clicked. That they had knew each other or whatever. So then, since that doesn't work, then she tries the, hey, my husband's an officer angle, to which the trooper gives zero shits and writes her for it. He did drop it. From however fast he was going to just a 10 over. And she comes home telling me about that. And I'm like, yo, they ran you. Like, God, you can't be doing that. That's just, we got to set an example. You know this. And she's like, I know. I was like, give me that. I'll take care of it. And I immediately paid it, but I let it go by, and I just left it laying in my jeans, I think, or something, when it was past due. And she brought it to me, and she's like, did you get this taken care of? And I was like, what? And she's like, the ticket. You said you were going to pay it. I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. So then I act like I'm calling dispatch and checking her, and I'm like, yeah, you got a warrant. She's like, I better not. You better have paid that. And then, yeah. She waterboarded me until I told her I paid it, but they're just brutal.
So she tried to pull the cop card thing, telling him that, my husband's a cop and all that.
Mm-hmm. Again, using that, from this little town, and of course he knows the little town exists, but he still doesn't care.
Oh, my wife got a speeding ticket one time.
Really?
I don't know if she threw her name out there at that time. But anyway, she has court and wants me to go with her. And I go with her. I don't know if it's because she was nervous or she thinks that like magic happens whenever a cop goes in a room and they go away. Mm-hmm. But little does she know, I walk up there and I talk to the bailiff, and I was like, hey, I go, does your judge have a sense of humor? Mm-hmm. And he was like, no. And I was like, dang it, man. And he goes, why? And I was like, well, my wife seems to think that since I'm a cop that I can get her out of this ticket. Mm-hmm. But what I want you to do is tell your judge that when it's her turn and he talks to her and everything, have your judge tell her that she's going to jail. And he was like, oh, no, that shit would not happen. And I was like, come on, man, it would be funny. He goes, no. He goes, you don't understand. Our judge has no sense of humor.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, we'll leave that one alone.
Yeah, we had an old judge like that. That dude did not play. Like, they'd show up and somebody would request a payment plan, and he'd be like, we're not doing that today. Your citation's $140. Do you have $140? They'd be like, well, no. It's like, well, you better find it, because if you don't have $140 before court's over, you are going to jail. And you'd be amazed at how fast people come up with money when they hear that.
Yeah, it's like that judge that we were interacting with or whatever. I mean, he goes, you got your ticket. you knew that in 30 days you were going to have to pay this. There's no excuse.
Mm-hmm. That's the big thing. Like, people think that police departments make all this money off tickets, and like in actuality, they really don't, which is, I'm glad that actually got brought up, because that's a common misconception that cops are out writing tickets because we supposedly make a bunch of money off of it. I mean, by the time you do your court costs, and then there's like fees to the state, you know what I mean? And then just everything else that goes along with it. I mean, the department doesn't really get anything out of it. I mean,
most of the time it's less than $5.
Yeah. I know for an SO, it's around $5. I don't think ours is very much more than that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really, you know, just to kind of keep it, you know, when they're writing it, to kind of slow you down. It's not because they're making money. I mean, it's illegal to have a quota or set a quota. Now, you can do so many contacts per hour, but just because you make a contact, that's not a you will write a citation type thing. That's all dependent on the stop.
Yeah, so I always got tired of hearing that. And it's like, if they knew the reality of it, they'd be like, you know, holy crap, they don't get anything from doing this. But
yeah, that, like I said, and you know, we're a small town, and so everybody seems to think that we're ticket happy because we get, you know, or we get something out of it somehow, and it's like we don't. Like, we generally we get nothing other than the headache and people being mad, and I mean, rightfully so. But at the same time, I mean,
yeah, they get mad at you because you caught them doing wrong.
Yeah, see,
and it's your fault.
My job is to catch you, and your job is to not get caught. So when we interact and I've got you, just take this L, my boy. Just,
yeah,
just be done.
It's like they say, it's your job to get lucky every time, but it's our job or we just have to get lucky once.
Yeah,
to catch
you. That's a story of my life, actually.
I got a phone call before. You know, I get a phone call. It's from a guy I know that works in Shawnee, and he was like, hey, he goes, you know, your wife, does she have a different first name than what she has like on Facebook or whatever? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, she goes by such and such name, but that's not her legal name. I was like, right. Why? And he goes, huh? He goes, well, I just caught her driving through Shawnee doing such and such and all this. And he's like, would you like to talk to her?
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, I sure would. And she told me that, you know, he comes walking back up to the car and he's like, hey, somebody wants to talk to you. And she hands him over the phone, and, you know, I am griping at her, telling her to slow down and all that. But heck, I told him after I talked to him, I was like, dude, do what you got to do. You need to write her a ticket. You write her a ticket.
Yeah. I had actually had the obverse of that happen. My mother-in-law, she's big time clout chasing. I have a sister-in-law that's an attorney, and so she's not a super litigious person, but if somebody does something to her, you know, she's like, well, I'm calling my daughter the attorney. But yeah, she did that. One of the guys, actually, when she got her new car, pulled her over, and he said he got out and he was walking up to do his approach, and by the time he got to the B pillar, she already had me on the phone. And she's sitting with the phone in her hand, got it on speaker, and he goes, ma'am, can I have your driver's license and reg? And she stopped him right there and was like, you hang on a minute. I'm talking to Richie right now. And she said his face turns white as a ghost. And he's like, Rich, you have a nice night, and turned around and left. But yeah, he was freaked out. Which I told him, I was like, man, it doesn't matter who it is. You know, if they're messing up, I mean, you know, stop them, do what you got to do. But yeah, that one was crazy.
Always trying to get out of trouble by throwing her name out. And I told people too, if you get stopped and someone mentions my name, they basically told you, write me a ticket.
Yeah. 'Cause we have some people here in town, and it just we're not of relation or anything, but his last name is the same as my last name, and people think, you know, I think he may tell him that he's kin to the police around here. And
no, well, you know, my wife got stopped just here recently. He gets her license and everything, and he looks at her and goes, that name sounds familiar. And then finally she was like, oh, my husband's a deputy. And he goes, oh, yeah, is that right? And she goes, please don't call him. Please just write me the ticket. Don't call him. Just write me the ticket.
Yup.
But, and, you know, we play games with our wives, you know, give them hell and all kinds of stuff. And it's fun. And that gets me back onto the story of one of the calls that I had. I don't know what kind of information he'd given, but, if you believe someone needs some mental health treatment, you can go and petition the judge and say, hey, so-and-so needs some help. They won't go and get it. Here's what's going on with them. Can you please write an order saying they have to go? And then they'll write those, and then the judge will order us to go to the house and pick them up, and then they get a mental health evaluation, which is sometimes good because people, they won't know what's going on with them. They think it's normal, but in reality, it's not. Well, I get a call. Huh?
I was going to say, and there's so much of a stigma around any kind of mental health treatment that nobody wants to go. They don't want to admit they have a problem, or they might have a problem, or whatever. So.
Yeah, and I think those orders are good. Sometimes it keeps them from having to admit that they need help or whatever. But I get one of those orders one day, and I go down to the house, and it's for a woman. And I get there, and I knock on the door, and she comes to the front door, and I tell her what all I have. I was like, ma'am, I've got an order from a judge that says I need to pick you up and I need to take you to get a mental health evaluation. And she doesn't argue it with me or anything. She looks at me straight in the eye and she goes, my effing husband. And I was like, do what? And she's like, he thinks that there's something wrong with me, thinks I'm crazy and all that. And I stand there and have a good conversation with her, just talk to her. And I'm like, man, there's nothing going on with this lady. I mean, I have no idea. And I can't remember the exact nature of why the husband thought that she needed this. Maybe he's fixing to divorce her or something. But anyway, I load her up. We drive however far it was. Took us 30 minutes to get there. And we walk in, and she fills out all her paperwork. She goes back for her eval. And then the counselor, whoever, comes up and talks to me, and they go, why is she here? And I go, I have absolutely no idea. I said, you saw the order from the judge and then what the petition said, but I don't know. I said, I talked to her for 30 minutes on the way up here. She seemed normal as can be and all that. I go, I have no idea why she's here. And this counselor lady was like, yeah, she goes, I'm not even giving her a safety plan. She doesn't need help. She doesn't need treatment. She doesn't need anything. She goes, there's nothing wrong with her. And I was like, okay. And she goes, now you might have a problem with her when you get her home. And I was like, why is that? And she goes, because she might kill her husband. Oh. And I was like, well, yeah, I can see that. And, I get there, the lady comes back out, and I talk to her, and she's like, yeah, she goes, she's good to go. You can take her back home and all that. And I told her, I was like, well, I guess we'll just head back home. She's like, okay. She gets in the car, and she's kind of talking to me and stuff. We're just chit-chatting. We get there at the house, and as I'm pulling in the driveway, the husband just got home, too. Like he's getting out of his truck as I'm pulling in. We get out. She gets out of the truck. She starts walking towards the house and walks by her husband, and she goes, oh, just you wait, mother. And I was like, oh, shit. And the husband, he turns and looks at me and throws his hands up, and then he comes up to me and goes, what's going on? And I was like, well, you know that thing you gave the judge? And he's like, yeah. Well, the counselor and stuff there that gave her a mental health evaluation, read through that, gave her evaluation, and said there is absolutely nothing wrong with her. Uh-oh. She actually thinks that you made this stuff up, and now your wife is pissed to high heaven. Yeah. And he was like, man, this is going to get bad. And I was like,
and it's about 4:00, and I've got to go.
Yeah.
You have a good night.
And I'm like, oh, it's going to get bad. And I was like, and I'm sure you'll be calling us here in a little bit because she's already told me that when she gets down here, she's going to let you have it. And he goes, well, you heard her where she says, oh, it's whatever and all this. And I was like, yeah. And I looked at him and I was like, it's time for me to go home. Good luck, buddy. And he was like, what am I supposed to do? And as I'm leaving, I was like, you ever heard that term? That you made that bed, you go lay in it?
Oh, yeah.
I said, go lay in it. Ooh. And I come pulling out. I never heard anything from him. I don't know if
So you haven't checked on that guy either?
Oh, no.
Oh, he's probably walking with more. It might not even be walking now.
Well, and that house sits up off the road a ways, so she could have buried him in the backyard and we would never see anything.
Oh, probably.
And she's probably got friends because my wife tells me constantly that her and her friend have a good place to bury a body.
See, they talk about all these friends. They're like, oh, yeah, I've got friends and we can bury. Like, where are these friends when like, the yard needs to be mowed.
Yeah,
so
no
I
kidding.
don't have to do it.
Well, one of her friends came over here recently and started, jacking their jaws and all that. And I'll go outside because it was my dinner time, and I walk out there and I go, "Hey, which one of you two is making me dinner?" Well, hey, I've taken over. You haven't really said a whole lot.
Oh, you're
today.
fine. You're fine. I'm trying to. I think you
but
dug us a deep enough hole.
My book keeps thinning out.
I know. We're
definitely gonna have to get the wives on here one day and let them talk.
Man.
We talk all this, crap and run our mouths. I guess we can give them opportunity to get on here to defend themselves.
Are we going to get one of those buttons that we talked about where you can do the beep thing, like where you can beep? Or there's going to be a lot of editing to do after this.
Yeah, we can probably come up with something. But anyway, you ain't got nothing for me today. We can cut this one short.
No, not offhand. Just the one where she thought she was slick and was trying to get out of it. But.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us again on Code 0.5. Make sure to visit us on our website, www.code05.co. While you're there, you can see all the providers that we get on as far as podcast players, and you can subscribe to us. And if you happen to be on iTunes, you can leave us a review. If it takes to get a 5-star review, we need to put the wives on here. Y'all let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Also, if you get on Facebook, you can leave us a comment of things that you maybe would like for us to talk about or like for us to hear or would like to hear from us.
Yeah, questions, comments, concerns.
Also, you can fill out a form to be a guest on the show.
Yes.
Anyway, we're getting off here.
Later.